I know this is the afternoon session, and for me on a good Saturday, this is nap time. But today, actually, as I was working on these three sessions, Chet kind of gave me the outline and the theme verse, and as I just began to pray and put things together, I got the most excited about this session. So I hope that excitement about what the Lord may do isn't, wasted by our nap time sleepiness. We'll see. Okay, so we're going to do our best to stay engaged here. Okay, so just to remind you of where we've been so far, the theme verse 24 out of 1 Samuel 12. Be sure to fear the Lord, serve him faithfully with all your heart. And then the last one that we're talking about, consider the great things he has done for you. So here's what I want you to do. Thank you. Here's what I want you to do. At your tables, I want you to share something great God has done in your life in the last 12 months. Okay? Just one. One great thing God has done in your life in the last 12 months. Okay. At your tables, go. Hopefully, if I'm interrupting your story, you can finish it later, but it can be helpful, to stop and to think about how God has been at work in our lives, to think about the great things he has done for us. And this is what Samuel is commanding the Israelites. And it takes us back to a story in 1 Samuel 7. We read it earlier. The people come to understand they've been worshiping idols. They need to repent. And they do. And they say, we're going to serve the Lord. And for a time they do. And during that time, they come against their arch nemesis, the Philistines. And God goes into battle with them and wins the battle. 1 Samuel 7 tells the story in verse 10. The Lord thundered with loud thunder, the text says, against the Philistines. And it was so loud and so disorienting that it threw them into a panic, and they were routed by the Israelites, we read. And then Samuel, I don't know if y'all have ever heard this before, probably not. Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen, and he named it Ebenezer. You probably never heard that story before. That was a story Chad just told. Did y'all not get that? Were y'all asleep during worship too? Come on now. All right. Saying the Lord has helped us thus far. And Eben, and the word Ebenezer, Eben means stone, and Ezer means help, a stone of help. And Chad gave a great description of what that means. And so it's helpful to think back and just consider, where in my life has God been showing up and helping me? I like this quote from a pastor named John Piper. He says, God's doing 10 million things in your life, and you're probably aware of 3 of them. I think that's true, but even if we are only aware of 3, it's good to be aware of the 3, right? It's good to be thoughtful and remember the 3. So here's what we're going to do, is we are going to spend some time at your tables mapping your spiritual journey. A lot of times in life, we think our spiritual journey is going to just be all up and to the right. Everything's going to be great. But I love this little graph. It tells you what reality is versus our expectations. Expectations at the top. It's just an easy climb all the way to the top. Reality. Rocks, water, ladders, rickety bridges, rain, boulders that are coming down off your head. Do you see that? That is kind of reality, isn't it? That is kind of how life goes. So here's what I want you to do. I've given you a sheet. If you were the holder of the sheets, you can pass them out now. And you're going to take this sheet, and I want you to just kind of utilize this idea of a graph and draw your story, your spiritual journey with God. What were the highs? What were the lows? Use more pictures than words. Describe it more in pictures and words. And so if you're not the best artist in the world, this doesn't matter, okay? Don't worry about it. No one has to see it besides yourself. So you can throw it away on your way home if you want. But I will tell you, this can actually be pretty helpful, right? Okay, so you can use some of these ideas, come up with your own ideas, but just chart your path from the earliest recollections of the work of God in your life up to the present. God has helped you thus far. Go. Hopefully, everybody's got pens, right? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, who feel like they did a pretty good job? They've got some different elements in there, maybe some drawings, etc. And you wouldn't mind walking us quickly through your picture. This is your chance to be courageous. Don't forget, that is the theme of the weekend, okay? Raise your hand. Anybody willing? Are you willing to do that, buddy? Can I take a picture of it? And you're going to talk us through it? Are you okay with that? Okay. Hold steady. Okay. Come on up here with me. I feel like we're really close, so we're going to start. Okay. Hold yours up. Okay. Talk us through it. What does it say at the top there?
It's me getting surgery on my arm.
Oh, I see.
Because I broke it.
Which one?
This one.
I couldn't even tell. You look like you healed up pretty good. What happened? How'd you break it?
I was playing soccer and I fell. And I tried to stop myself and then it almost happened to my left hand too.
Really? Was it painful? It sounds painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you have a cast on for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a bunch of signatures on that cast?
Mm-hmm.
Any girls' signatures?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Good call. You raised them right. Good job, Dad. Stay away from those girls, at least for now. Okay. Okay, so where, Isaiah, did you feel God at work in your life during this time? Like when it first happened, did you pray?
Yeah.
Were you at peace? Were you scared?
Scared.
Yeah, I would be too. And how do you feel like God helped you during that time?
Because he didn't make my arm fall off.
That's a good thing. He kept your arm on there, right? And God created our bodies to heal, and he gave us doctors and medicine and all sorts of good stuff to help us when we're hurt. And, you know, we can always thank God for those things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Isaiah, thank you for sharing. Y'all give him a hand. There's the picture. Very creative. You can see him on the bed, and his face doesn't look very happy. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, you were snoring. Oh, because they gave you the medicine? Yeah, the good stuff. Yeah. You get a good nap on that. Okay. Anybody else want to share? Anybody else willing to share? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, come on up, buddy. Oh, this will be easy. Come on up, Isaiah. Isaiah part 2. The follow-up story. Okay. Oh, you got a whole graph here. Okay, good. All right. Here, hold it up. Everybody can at least see the graph. Hold it up. There you go. Let's do like the Vanna White thing. Like, just really show that off. There you go. Everybody see it? Okay. That's a lot of ups and downs. Do you feel like life has been a lot of ups and downs for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, share with us one of these downs. When you're like walking through the valley right here. What was that?
Oh, that was before I was saved. And then when I got saved, it started going up. And then a small back down when I had my accident.
Oh, what happened to you?
So me and my dad were building a bench, and I got my hand stuck in the circular saw.
Ooh, ouchie. Which hand? I'm guessing it's this one. Look, hey, you got a pretty cool scar, though. Chicks dig scars. So eventually that will be important to you. But I love this because if you could see his graph, that low point, and then it's followed by, as he said, you got saved and you got baptized. Where'd you get baptized?
Over at Mo Ranch.
Okay.
And it was in the river.
Oh, cool. Okay, right on. How old were you when you got baptized?
I'd say 10.
And how old are you now?
Gonna be 12.
Okay, when? When's your birthday?
August 3rd.
Oh, ooh, that's right around the corner. Okay, hey, y'all give it up for Isaiah. Good job, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully on all of your charts, you had on there the moment that you were saved. And that baptism is such an important part of our salvation story. and a public testimony to what God has done. And so that should definitely show up there. But as both the boys, kind of recognize, some of the lows in life can be health stuff, crisis stuff, scary stuff that happens. And then when we look back, we can see, how God has been at work in us. And the Israelites could have done that easily. God had done so much for them, right? Going back to the 12th chapter of Isaiah, we hear Samuel kind of reminding them of how forgetful they are. He says, "It is the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your ancestors up out of Egypt." That is a monumental moment in the life of Israel, and it's one that they keep going back to and keep reminding themselves to remember when we were slaves in Egypt. Remember, God brought us out under Moses and Aaron's leadership. Remember wandering in the desert for 40 years. Remember God bringing us into the promised land just like he said he would. And he says in verse 7 of 1 Samuel 12, he says, "Now then stand there, because I'm going to confront you with the evidence before the Lord as to all the righteous acts performed by the Lord for you and your ancestors." And he begins to recount the story. And then in verse 9 he says, even though God's done all this stuff, in verse 9 he says, "But they forgot the Lord their God." The truth is if we forget what God has done, we may miss what he's yet to do. I don't know why I can't control this and click on that little slide there, but for some reason it ain't working. Chad's going to help me with that. If we forget what God has done, we may just miss out on what he's yet to do. Because the Israelites in the middle of the first chapter of Samuel, they're not at the end of the story of God and what he was doing in their lives. They're right in the middle of it. But if they continue to forget what God has done, they were going to miss what he was yet to do. And we don't want to miss what God is yet to do in our lives. So it's good to look back and say, what are the righteous acts of God? So here's my challenge, and we're going to talk this through a little bit. What are some righteous acts of God in the Old Testament leading up to this moment? What are some of the incredible things God has done? You've already heard us talk about a few of them, but this is going to be group participatory, so y'all just shout it out. What are some incredible acts of God in the Old Testament? Moses is called to the burning bush. Be a little bit louder so I can hear you. Cloud by day, fire by night. God leading the people in the desert. Good. Parting of the Red Sea. The giving of the 10 Commandments. Not once, but twice, right? And there was 2 seas parted, or at least the sea in the Jordan River was parted, right? Say again? Saved 8 people on a boat, yeah. The story of Noah. Manna and quail, which, they were grateful for at first, the story, and then they kind of got tired of manna and quail. We people, I tell you what, they forgot that they were complaining and that God provided. We've done that. I've done that. Okay, what else? What are some other incredible acts of God in the Old Testament? The Passover, the death angel passing over all of those who have put the blood of the lamb on the doorpost. The water from a rock. Creation itself, amen. Incredible act of God. What's that over here? The flood. Daniel in the lion's den. That was yet to come, but yes, these are incredible things God had done. The 3 in the fire, saved by God. The story of Joshua, right? Incredible story, one after another. God uses Joshua to bring the people what they needed and bring his own people into Egypt. Okay, good. Yeah, and see, this is true of our lives too, right? We can take the time and think back and say, what are the miraculous acts of God in our lives? So it's true in the life of Israel, it's true in the life of the church, it's true in your life and in mine, and it's true in the life of First Baptist Lavernia, that God has been at work in your church for a long time now. I'm going to test your knowledge on what God has done in the life of your church. Are you ready for this? I've got 10 questions. You're going to answer them. Get out a clean sheet of paper on your pad. Questions are going to pop on the screen. You're going to write down your answer. This is not a team assignment, all right? Not a team assignment. We're going to see who knows the most or is a really good guesser, one of the two, okay? All right, on the history of First Baptist Church of Lavernia. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. Everybody's got their piece of paper. This is multiple choice, so I did try to make it at least a little easy on you. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to click through these, Chad, because it's not, I don't know, should I close it and restart it? I'm going to try again. Okay, just go to the first question, and it may start working for me. Okay, first question. What year was this church founded? Do you know? 1836, 1855, 1858, or 1887? What's your answer? Okay, it's working out, Chad. Sorry, buddy. Okay, don't say it out loud. Don't give away your good answers. Okay? All right. Moving on. I'm going to give all the answers at the end, okay? So right now we're just going through the questions. Second question out of 10. What was the name given to the church at its founding? Bethesda Baptist Church, Post Oak Baptist Church, Cibolo Baptist Church, or was it from the beginning, First Baptist Lavernia? What do you think? Write your answer down. Okay, number 3. Who was the first pastor of the church? Do you know? James Curry, or Robert Curry, James Humphreys, Henry Yelvington. These are all real people, by the way. I was going to make up a name, but I decided to use real people in the history of your church. These are all real people in the history of your church. But which one was the first pastor? Do you know? You got 33% chance on this one. So, fourth question. How long did that first pastor serve for? And there is an actual picture of him. These are all pictures from your history files, by the way. I didn't just pull these out of nowhere. That actually is the first pastor and his wife. The pastor is the one with the beard. I don't know if you can tell. Was he pastor for 27 years, 50 years, or 13 years? What do you think? Okay, fifth question. Where did the church meet at in its early days? So this would be in the late 1800s, okay? In members' homes, in a schoolhouse, in a Masonic lodge, or all of the above? What do you think? Now, that's not a picture from back then. That was a more recent picture, but it's still kind of an older picture. I don't know when that was taken. I think it was labeled as a Sunday school class. My guess is maybe the 50s. 1950s. You got to be specific. Oh. Is that you, Jeff? In the back? Okay, what year? Or no, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Where did the church meet at? Okay. You got enough time. All right. How about this one? What is the church known for? Your church is known for something on this list. Oldest church in the county that you helped start the SABA, which stands for San Antonio Baptist Association. Back then it was actually called the San Antonio River Baptist Association. Helped start FBC San Antonio, or all the above. What do you think? A few more to go here. Got your answer on that one? Okay. Next one. In the early years, 1850s or so, the church shared worship space with the Methodists, the Presbyterians, the Catholics, or A and B. What do you think? I should put a none of the above. Baptists can't get along with nobody. But that would not have been true. One of these is true. At least one. All right, next question. What year was the current building dedicated? Current building being this worship space that we're in right now. What year was it dedicated? Was it 73, 83, or 93? 73, 83, or 93? What do you think? Lock in your answers. Lock them in now. No phoning a friend. Going way back on that one. Okay. Next question. A few more to go. A couple more to go. You may know this guy. How old was Dr. Josh Walters when he became the pastor of First Baptist Lavernia? 30, 35, or 40? By that picture, it looks like 21 maybe. He looks so young. It's before he met all you people. And he's got gray hair. That's just a joke. He's only spoken well of you. It's just a joke. Okay. Yeah. I meant on the face. The facial hair. That's all we got left, man. So it counts. It counts, sir. It counts. Okay. All right. 2 more to go. Second to last. Do I have a repeat in there? Oh, I just didn't change the picture. My bad. Okay, this is definitely not the last of the charter members. Sorry. I thought I fixed that. My bad. That's funny. Okay. Who was the last of the charter members to pass? In other words, of the members who started the church way back in the 1800s, who was the last one to pass away? Jimmy Newton, Redden Morris, or Catherine Yelvington? And again, these are real people. I made up no names, at least not on this one. What do you think? Don't tell Josh I put his picture up here for this one. That's hilarious. Okay. Last one. Here we go. Still the same picture. I don't know what happened here. Wait. No. What did I do? Oh, that was the last one. Okay, somehow that one got added. Okay, my bad. I gave away some here. Okay. All right, let's go back to the top. What's the answer? Who knows? 1855. Okay. In one high school class back in, I can't remember when, I think maybe the 1950s, they did a paper and they said that actually the beginnings of the church were in 36. But officially, the year that it was constituted was 55. In 58, the church began to meet in a school and church building built in the community of Bethesda. And then in 87, that's when the first building was built here on this property, was back in 1887. So all those dates actually do mean something, but the correct answer would be B. Raise your hand if you got B. Raise your hand if you got the right answer. About half of you. Okay, good. All right, next one. I've got too many screens in front of me. Okay, what was the name? Bethesda, Post Oak, Cibolo, FBC Lavernia. The correct answer is C, Cibolo. Bethesda was a community founded early in the 1830s on the east side of the Cibolo River. Post Oak was the name, from what I understand, some of you know this better than me, but Post Oak, from what I understand, was previously the name of the actual community here of Lavernia. It used to be called Post Oak based on some log cabins in the area that were built out of Post Oak. If you know the history better, you can correct me. But that's why I understand from your own historical documents, so I'll just say it that way. All right. Okay, next one. Who was the first pastor? Who's that guy? Robert Curry, James Humphreys, Henry Yelvington. Who said A? Like you're proud of your answer. Come on, people, because you got it right. Yeah. And that's they didn't call him pastor, they called him elder. Elder Curry. That's what they called him. And from the picture, I'd say apropos. Okay. Oh, that's the next question. I'm not going to give that away. But I will say this. Okay, see, these are real people. James Humphreys, he's the one that donated the first parcel of land where the Bethesda School was built, and it was also built to house churches. And then a few different churches met in that space at the Bethesda School. And then Henry Yelvington was one of the charter members as well. So that's who those people are. They're real people. Okay. And then, where did the church meet at in its early days? Well, I kind of just gave one away. If you're cheating, you could fix your answer. Okay. Did I skip one? I told you, I got too many screens. How long? Okay. 27, 50, or 13? Who says 27? Who says 50? Who says 13? By most evidence, it's actually 27 years is the correct answer. In one report, a historian said he had been the pastor here for almost half a century. And I guess he just rounded up from 27. I don't know. Okay. Now this one. Okay. Where did the church meet in the early days? Who said members' homes? Who said schoolhouse? Who said Masonic Lodge? And who said all of the above? All of the above is actually right. They started out in members' homes, and then the Bethesda School and church building was built. It burned down, and the Masonic Lodge was built. And when that was built, they continued to meet in there until you built your first church. And so all of those are actually true. Okay, what is your church known for? How many of you said A, oldest church in the county? How many of you said B, helped start Saba? How many of you said C, helped start San Antonio? How many of you said all the above? You guys are on fire. All the above is actually true. First Baptist Lavernia is the oldest continuous church. Evidently, their church started before them, but they didn't make it. But technically you're the oldest continuous congregation in Wilson County. And then you were part of 14 other churches that helped start what is now called the San Antonio Baptist Association. I mentioned earlier it used to be the San Antonio River Baptist Association. And you were one of 3 churches to help start First Baptist Church of San Antonio. And you donated $1,000. From what I understand, it was the Women's Missionary Union that worked together to help get that started and raise the $1,000 to send to help them with their space. So all the above are true. All right. In the early days, who did you share worship space with? The Methodists, the Presbyterians, or the Catholics? Who said A? Who said B? Who said C? Who said D? D is right. Y'all have figured out that if I give an A, B, or all the above, that might actually be the answer. It was A and B, the Methodists and the Presbyterians. Interestingly, your first pastor here, I'm going to mess it up now. One of his parents was Methodist and one of them was Presbyterian. I think that's right. And he ended up being Baptist, and then he had to share worship space with those folks. But we all love Jesus, so it's okay. Okay, next question. When was this building dedicated? How many said 73? 83? 93? 83 is the correct answer. How about Dr. Josh Walters? When did he become pastor? At 30, at 35, or at 40? How many said 30? 35? 40? He was 35, per the news clippings. Again, I can't believe I left that picture up there. It's hilarious. Who was the last charter member to pass? Newton, Morris, or Yelvington? Who said A? B? C? You also notice I like to give the answer on C. You guys are so smart. You're picking up on trends. You don't really know the answer. You're just picking up on trends, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's true. That is smart. That's smart. Catherine Yelvington, she passed away in 1907. Yeah, you see it there. 1907. Long time ago, right? If we forget what God has done, we may miss what he has yet to do. So it's worth thinking back about, what has God done in this world? Creation, fall, redemption, the promise of restoration. That's the big story of God, right? And then to see what he's done in the life of Israel and the life of the church, and to see what he has done in your life, and to see what he's done in the life of this church, to think back and see what God has done, I think prepares our heart to expect what he will do next, and that we can be a part of what he wants to do next. As I was pouring through kind of the history of your church, I came across several different interesting articles. I pulled them all together because it talks about Miss Yelvington's passing. Her story, interwoven with the story of the church, was written by Reverend Dodson. And I think this is the same Reverend Dotson that actually served as a pastor of your church in 1883. And when she passed in 1907, this was written for a publication. I'm trying to remember. The Baptist Visitor was the name of the publication. And he wrote about the church in light of the passing of Miss Catherine Yelvington. And so I want to read to you a little bit about what he wrote. He said, the passing away of Miss Catherine Lee Yelvington at La Vernia, Texas on the 13th of last December awakens some serious reflections concerning the Baptist Church in La Vernia, which was once a strong and vigorous body of Christians, but is now well nigh dismantled. He says, the church was a model of Baptist policy and power, but with the passing away of its first leader, Elder Curry, that would have been the first pastor, the community began to disintegrate. The church began to decline, and the population began to change. The older settlers, he says, had passed away, and still Sister Yelvington being one of the last of the old guard. Until today, there is nothing that remains except a weak and helpless remnant to occupy the large and roomy edifice that was built in the days agone. It certainly represents a sad picture. Sister Yelvington died with a prayer on her lips that the Lord would rejuvenate and build up again this old historic church to which she devoted her life of service and sacrifice. I didn't know this. Maybe you didn't know this, but your church was this close to closing its doors in the early 1900s. And in fact, in another article, it tells a story that it was the churches that this church helped start that rallied around this church to help turn things around. And just think about that church, an old wooden church with a few people left and no real signs of hope. And think about what your church looks like today. A vibrant, growing church. You're about to break ground on a new campus. You're reaching people for Jesus. You're discipling people for Jesus. Her prayers were answered. And it's not answered by superstars. We probably wouldn't know any other names. It was answered by ordinary men who had ordinary courage to say yes to God. I will stand in the gap. I will do what you call me to do. I will keep pressing forward. And if God tarries, if your church is here for another 170 years, what story will be told about this time in the life of your church? And what role will you have played? When we look back and see how God has been faithful to you and your church, God has done that through ordinary people like you. And God can continue to do that through ordinary people who show ordinary courage, but do it day in and day out and say, I will be used of God. And I don't know what that story is going to look like. I don't know what it's going to sound like. But seeing you, I'm hopeful. This will be known as a season of growth and transformation. But it's not going to come from Pastor Josh and Pastor Chad, certainly not alone. God does not give the church leaders to do all that needs to be done. The leaders are there to help you do the work of ministry. This is what Scripture teaches us in Ephesians 4, that God gives leadership to the church to help the church do the ministry of the church. So it's going to be you. God is going to use you. So we remember, unlike the Israelites who forgot what God has done, we remember what God has done, and we stay in step with what He has done. So thinking back over the last few sessions, where is God calling you to act courageously, to be a part of the story He's telling? What excuses is God asking you to lay down? What hard things is He asking you to do? What might He be asking you to give up to embrace the future He has for you, your family, and this church? Where is He calling you to step into courage that maybe right now you feel like you don't have, but in Him you can find it? What story will be told of your leadership and your service and your time here in this place.